issuing authorities, by and large, want to do the same thing they do today, even better in the case of an MDL. So our members came to us and said, our credentials, our physical credentials, are being accepted almost everywhere as identity documents. What should we be doing so that the same will be true for the mobile credentials that we issue? So to answer that question, AMBA and the MDL working group that consists of jurisdictional representatives are in the process of compiling requirements and or best practices that would help jurisdictions to answer those questions. Next. Those areas would cover, among other things, like your app security features. Next. What you could do to protect the data, both while on the app or while it's being handled by an intermediary. And next, what you should be doing on the side of provisioning your MDL to make sure that you have a solid solution. Our intent is, coming up with these guidelines, to make use of existing standards and or practices as much as possible. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, and to provide a full suite of references to our members. We envision that eventually, with the necessary stakeholder input, this would become a good baseline for Real ID compliance, and by extension to the issuance of non-Real ID credentials as well. So that's the one side of how we're helping issuing authorities to make sure that they can be in a position to issue trustworthy products. When it comes to verifying that a document that I'm working with, we work in what we call the trust model, which is on the next slide. So AMVA is currently investigating different public key administration models. In order to authenticate an MDL, you need to authenticate using a public key of the issuing authority, and you need to trust that it actually came from the issuing authority. And so the challenge is that you have many issuing authorities and you have many verifiers. And what we're looking at is, how can we set up, what's the best solution for public key administrator? And once we know that, we can see how can we set that up. And so next illustrates the problem by saying that you have many public certificates that you use to get to a public key administrator. And that public key administrator has the function of next determining what the origin is, next that the quality is good, and next would want to disseminate the public certificates to the verifiers. As I've said, AMVA is in the process of investigating what solutions there are to this challenge and what the best one would be. And as a shameless plug, we are issuing an RFI in this area later this year, and if anyone's interested, we'd encourage you to participate in that endeavor.